There's an old expression that says, by their fruits ye shall know them. And that expression is true in all walks of life as it relates to programs, activities, institutions, businesses, etc. And essentially, what that says is that if one puts a lot of hard work and initiative into something, then it will bear positive fruits. Well, I'm so happy today to be able to feature a program, an individual, and an institution whose fruits have shown that she has been very, very fruitful and very effective and very productive in her job and in her endeavors. My name is Alex Habersham, and I'm your host for A Call to Action. And I'm so happy today to be able to just highlight and expose and introduce and brag on an entity and an institution and a program and a school, Matilda Hartley Elementary School, whose principal is Miss Carmalita, Dr. Carmalita Dillard. And I had the pleasure of hearing her make a presentation about Matilda Hartley, where it was, where it is, where it's going, and the kind of programs that, just set it on the right path and made all kinds of improvements. So I thought it would be beneficial to the community because of my belief in education, because I realize how important education is, because I realize how education ties into our future and our well-being and our community and our progression. And I know that as education goes, that's how all of those things go. So Dr. Dillard and I are going to talk about some of the things that she has done at Matilda Hartley Elementary School, which has shown phenomenal progress. So how you doing, Doc?
I am doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for coming. So tell us, first of all, a little bit about yourself.
This is my 8th year here at Matilda Hartley Elementary School, where I serve as principal. I've been in Bibb County for over 25 years, working at all 3 levels, from elementary to middle to high school, working from the east side of Macon all the way down to out to Rutland Middle School, here in the central area at Central High School and middle school, to coming here to the Unionville area and working at Matilda Hartley Elementary School, working in all facets, as a school counselor, assistant principal, and it's just been a joy to really work with our kids here in the Macon-Bibb County community, because I really believe that in order to move and to have a progressive county and city, we start with the children. And so we have to ensure their success and that they develop into whole, healthy adults, whether they go on to college, enter the career force, or into the military. Our future rests in these kids, and it's up to us to ensure that we're providing them the best pathway to determining what their future is going to be.
Well, you certainly have done that. Now let's talk a little bit about Hartley, where it was when you got there. I understand that it was not rated the highest comparatively as it relates to elementary schools in the system, but as a result of several initiatives that you formulated and initiated, that it has shown measurable, that's a key word, measurable and documentable progress. So let's talk some about that process.
Yeah, so I came to Hartley in 2015, and Hartley has, over the years, experienced its highs and lows. But typically and historically, Hartley has been on the state's list for schools in need of improvement, and that is evident by the CCRPI scores, in which schools are rated and scored. based upon academic performance of our students. And typically we're looking more at reading proficiency, and we're looking at math scores. And then also the state rates schools based on the culture and climate of that building. And so they're given stars. You have a 1-star up to a 5-star. Hartley was a 1-star school. We had a lot of discipline issues. The culture and climate was not really so positive. So in addition to the fact that we were struggling with reading proficiency and math performance, we were also struggling with teaching kids how to positively interact with each other to reduce those incidents of discipline occurrences within the school building.
Okay. How did you do that?
So that has been a task. And first of all, the one thing that I believe in is that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And so Hartley is the nucleus of this community. And so in order to improve reading proficiency in the school, we have to build a culture of literacy. We have to work with community partners to, even when we look at discipline incidents. So we partnered with a lot of community partners, and that goes all the way from using Charlie Hicks Funeral Home across the street to the churches in this community, to partner with some of our civic organizations such as the Links Incorporated here in Macon. But we wanted to communicate to the families that this is a family effort, that we want to walk hand in hand in partnership with our parents, because we have to have parents that value education, and, you know, for teachers to understand where our kids came from. The first thing that I did as the principal here was organize a bus ride of our neighborhood, so that teachers who work in this building would be able to see where our children live, the neighborhoods in which they come from, the location to a grocery store, and those kind of things, because all of this impacts children when they walk in the door. You walk in with whatever baggage you bring, whether I had breakfast and lunch or dinner the night before, those issues have to be addressed before I can open a book and say, we're going to learn to read today. So we worked with those community partners to bring awareness to some of the needs of our children. Also, in addition, we wanted to partner with the Leader in Me, because it was very important that we instill in children what a win-win solution looks like. What does it mean when someone says begin with the end in mind? Believing in self, finding your voice, being able to articulate that. So to teach our children how to handle conflict resolution, how to find alternatives to fighting, and those things, and to instill a belief in them that you can be more than your surroundings. And so that included exposure, exposing our kids to field trips, to going to a museum. I laughed at one day we took our children over to the back burner to eat lunch, and we had taught them etiquette skills so they would know how to eat at a fine restaurant. And so these were the things that maybe our children had never been exposed to. So when we're building a whole child, you work not only with teaching those reading skills, but I'm going to improve your social skills as well. Hartley had the highest number of discipline referrals that year when I came in than any elementary school in the entire county. And being a neighborhood school, we're better than that. So we worked at teaching those skills to our children and instilling in them that they are scholars, that they are leaders, to build their confidence so that they could see that in themselves. Because when I talked to my students, and my students told me they didn't expect to graduate from high school, many of them didn't even expect to live to be the age of 18, that we had to change that mindset with children so that they could know, yes, you can, and we believe in you, and we're going to help you to do that. And then partnering with, for example, the Frank Johnson Center to provide a tutorial program that was not housed here in the school, but in the community. I'm going to go where the kids are playing basketball. So we can say, hey, come over here so we can do your homework and those type things. And just really building that culture of literacy and letting the parents know how important it is and the opportunities that exist for these children as they go out into the world. But, you know, our kids even saw their neighborhood as, my neighborhood looks dirty. my neighborhood isn't clean like some of the other areas of town. So we even partnered with the fire department and the police department to say, hey, we want to clean up our own neighborhood. And we brought the kids in on a Saturday and we walked the streets along with some representatives from the sheriff's department and every entity so that we could clean up our own neighborhood to instill that pride in them that, you know, you are worthy. And I think that's where the baseline, and once you build that concept of you are worthy, we open the doors on Saturday for Saturday school. And the kids will come on Saturday because they want to be the best version of themselves. And working with our community partners, we have finally been able to get off of the state's list of schools that need some improvement. We are now a 5-star rated distinguished school.
Wow.
And so we are continuously working to ensure that the culture and the climate of Hartley stays one that's conducive for kids to want to come, that they want to learn, building a staff that people want to come to work at Hartley, and that they see it as a family environment where all can grow and learn.
So how long did it take you to move from 1 to 5?
We moved from 1 to, so it was a gradual transition. The first year we went from 1 to 3, and then we went from 1 to 4. And last year we became a 5-star school. And so the key is that once you get there, that you cannot have discipline in, there's only a percentage that your discipline referrals can go up. So for last school year, I think we had 35 discipline referrals for the entire school year. And we can't really, for the next year, increase much over that. So we have to remain between 35 to 45 discipline referrals to remain a distinguished school. But so far this year, we've got less than half of that. So we're pretty confident that our kids will remain there. And we talk to them about restorative practices and what could you do as an alternative to this. And we also talk to them if they come to the office for a discipline referral, we talk about their goal and where do you see yourself in 5 years? How are you going to get there? And I often tease my kids about needing a reference for a job. And I said, now, if you're going to call on me to give you a reference, I got to be able to give them a good, true reference for you. So I need you coming to school. I need you being able to work well with others. And so, like I said, our kids build that aspiration of what is it I want to do and what's my action plan to get there. And so that's been very successful to us in maintaining that growth and really moving our kids. So we're still working on building that literacy and reading proficiency with our kids. We are growing and moving as indicated by coming off the state's needs improvement list, but that is a continuous process. Kids in this community aren't often given opportunities to participate in early formalized learning opportunities. So we get kindergartners in that don't know their letters as compared with some of the other communities here in the district. And so we're starting at ground zero with our children, but we don't accept any excuses. So we come in and we work hard with our kids to get them at a level where they're ready to go out and be successful, because kids are transient these days and they move all over. So we want them to be able to compete with children from not only here in Middle Georgia, but kids all across the nation.
That is so outstanding. Congratulations.
Thank
Talk a little bit about, I think oftentimes the importance of teachers is overlooked, and teachers play such a major role. When I was teaching, I discovered that, because that classroom and that teacher, are where the rubber meets the road. So talk a little bit about your staff and the teachers and the kind of role that they played in making, the 1 to 5 successful.
Well, I think teaching is probably one of the hardest professions, and they don't get enough credit for all that they do. They juggle so many hats, from being a nurse to caregiver to teacher to confidant to just everything. And so I don't think the community really gives the value to the teaching profession that it really and truly deserves. But and it's not a 9 to 5 job or an 8 to 3:30 job. Our teachers work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And it's not grading papers. They are actually, first of all, when something happens with a child, you take that home with you. You internalize things. If I have a child that comes in that has not eaten, I take that home with me at night, and I can't sleep worrying about that child. Next, they are working, how can I reach every child in my classroom? How can I reach that child that's in 5th grade that's still reading on a 1st grade level? What lessons and strategies do I need to implement to move that child and to help that child grow and increase? So, and it takes a very special teacher that can come and work in a school that is on the designated list, that has a designation for needing improvement. There are a lot of monitoring going on at the state level, at the district level. And so just having that, in addition to just that sincere desire that I want to help children. And so, teachers go to school and we're getting a lot of waiver teachers who've never been in an education classroom, and they're now going back trying to get training to get certified, but yet I'm having to deal with all the demands of the classroom and the teaching of reading. Typically you would think reading is taught from the grades of kindergarten through 2nd grade. And from 3rd on, I'm reading to learn, but that's no longer true, especially with the pandemic. We have kids in 3rd, 4th, 5th that are still needing foundational reading skills. And so the teaching of reading is a very in-depth concept, and the pedagogy and everything that you need to be able to teach reading is very important. And so that's stressful for a teacher, learning how to teach that phonemic awareness and to make sure that those kids leave your classroom ready to go on to the next grade level successfully.
Well, one of my favorite expressions is that when I've seen the sign on the highway that says, "If you can read this, thank a teacher." So I am constantly doing that, and I mean, my heart goes out and my hat's off to instructors, but not only as it relates to the income, which is not enough, but it is so rewarding. I mean, just to see a child change and to see improvement in a child, and for a child to come in the morning and give you a hug, say, "How you doing, Dr. Dillard?" And with that smile and what have you. So teaching is rewarding. I'm speaking from experience. So I know you will join me in encouraging people, because you want to make a difference in life. You want to make a difference in what you do. One of the best ways to make a difference is by engaging in something from an educational perspective that's going to improve the community. So I wanted to give that shout out for you, because I know that the system needs more people, and then, and talk a little bit about, the waiver teachers that you call them, because I know that the system needs more people in instruction. So how does that work?
So the waiver teacher, the process of an alternative route to certification was created as we see that widening gap of students exiting college with a degree in education. And there is such a demand for teachers, and we are competing with other professions that have raised the wages right now. And when those college students see all that goes into being a teacher and the pay, it may not be as attractive as some of these other jobs that are competitive. So the state designed an alternative route to certification. So any person who has a 4-year college degree can now come in as what's called a waiver teacher to teach. And that is, you have to commit to, I'm going to go back to school and get a master's in education so that we can give you those skills. or I'm going to work with Middle Georgia RESA under the TAPS program, and that's an alternative route to certification in which there's training involved and support from the RESA staff of the monitoring, and then the passing of the GACE assessment, which is Georgia's assessment for certification of educators. And so once a person completes those, then they're eligible for a full teaching certificate, and they're able to teach in any of our schools here in Bibb County.
That's outstanding. And I'm sure that there are people under the sound of our voices who are thinking about, well, what can I do? How can I make a difference? How can I be involved? So they can get involved by being a waiver teacher, but also talk about other ways that the community and individual and organizations and institutions and churches can get involved, specifically at Hartley, but generally in the whole education process, because you began this interview with "It Takes a Village." So talk about, how the community and other entities in the community can assist in uplifting and, making 5 the standard for schools in our community.
Right. So I want to give a shout out to the United Way, and the United Way sponsors a program, Read United and Read to Succeed, in which community partners and volunteers go through a little tutorial training on how to support that reading initiative in schools. And they come in and provide support for students that are struggling readers, reading with them and helping them with vocabulary words and things of that nature. But even without going through Read United, schools are always looking for volunteers. And, sometimes the simple art of spending time with a child and reading to them and hearing them read, and just that time of spending to build that bond and relationship, big brothers, big sisters in the mentoring project, serving as a mentor, especially for some of our inner city schools, such as Matilda Hartley, having a mentor that's there to build that relationship with children is so vital and important. But your presence in the school building, some of our local churches have partnered with Hartley, that they come in on Tuesdays just to greet the children, to show up. We're asking our students and our parents and our teachers to physically and mentally show up to engage our children each and every day. And so we're asking our community partners to show up also, to show that our children, that you are invested in them, and that you want to see them improve, and it changes the whole county. And so that's what we're asking our partners to do. Just simply stop by and, say hello to a child when you go through. And there is a partnership application and, some prerequisites you need to fill out in order to be a volunteer with the schools. But it means so much. And we have a lot of our retirees, a lot of our senior citizens in the community that will come in and join with the children, and they look forward to seeing them. You mentioned the rewards of being a teacher. Sometimes when kids come back later and will tell you the difference that you made in their life, that's the reward that you get. I have so many of my older kids from Appling Middle School and Rutland Middle that now that they're grown adults will come back, and it will literally bring tears to your eyes for someone to share a moment that you thought was insignificant, and they can recall it vividly and tell you that made a major change for them and turned their life around and got them on the path to success. And so oftentimes I tell teachers, you may not see it now, but years later, what you're doing for these children will make a difference in their lives. And they'll oftentimes come back and share that with you.
Dr. Dillard, I had a very interesting experience Saturday morning. I was interviewing a young lady who was applying to be a legacy queen for the Cherry Blossom Festival. And I noticed her name. I won't call her name, but I remember having taught a young man with that name. And so I asked her, did she know Joe? We'll just use Joe. She said, yeah, Mr. Havisham, that was my ex-husband. And I just want to tell you that he told me a long time ago. In order to understand sweet, you got to taste bitter. Now, I taught Joe 40 years ago. I used to use quotations to get their attention. And then so here we are 40 years later, somebody is remembering an experience that came as a result of my having taught her husband. And I think that helps to solidify, you're talking about reward. You're talking about reward. If you know that you have affected somebody, if you have influenced somebody, if you have encouraged somebody and they remember you, then nothing can be more rewarding, not even money. So
Correct.
it's very, very important that everybody, it takes a village. I mean, that's very, very true. That everybody kind of get involved in, the education of our children. Can you think of any other way, either financially or otherwise, that that individuals or the community can support your endeavors and the initiatives across the system to try to uplift? I mean, it's important. Everybody wins when we got a good educational system, because industries look at education. Individuals, when they retire and want to move back, they look at the educational system, because that affects the well-being. And I'm happy to say that we did get some recognition a couple of weeks ago about Macon being one of the 12 best places in the country to live. And we need to continue that, and we need to keep that. And the way to do it is by improving our educational system.
You're so right, because as businesses look to move into the community and all, the first thing they look at is the public education system in that community. And funding is one of those things that's tied to enrollment. And so Bibb County has experienced a decrease of enrollment of students. So as you have a decrease of enrollment, you have a shrinking of funding. And so for schools, especially those schools that need a little bit more, such as Matilda Hartley, then we're always looking for grants. We're looking for financial blessings from some of our community partners, because that's what provides us with the resources in which to help our kids grow. Our kids may need additional and supplemental materials besides just the regular textbooks or whatever that we may have here in the district for them. So we rely on those additional funds and grants to help us to provide those resources for our children. Oftentimes we provide our children with all their school supplies, and we do that multiple times during the year, because a child coming in without paper and pencil will not prohibit that child from learning at Hartley. If you need a pencil, we're going to give you a pencil. Our desire is to keep you in the classroom. And so that may mean that I'm providing you with those things for our community partners that volunteer and donate supplies to us throughout the year. We are so happy and appreciative of those rewards. I just had Tractor Supply to come over the other day to bring some donations to us. And so we look forward to partnering and increasing our partnerships with different organizations and different companies within the Macon-Bibb County community, especially, like I said, for schools such as Hartley, our inner city schools that really, really need that support. And to just show up at, I was talking with our guidance counselor the other day about exposure to careers, that our kids need to see some of these companies and business people come in to expose them. So when I ask my children, what do you want to be, that their first response isn't, I want to be an NFL player, I want to be a rapper, or any of those things, because oftentimes they're not aware of a lot of career options that are out there for them. And so that's why taking them on field trips, which costs money, to be able to expose them to different things so that they could aspire to reach higher. Unfortunately, Alex, I frequently see my children or my former children on television, and not for such positive things. And so, a lot of our kids, they are fascinated by fast money and the community which surrounds them. And so that's one of the things that we work on with Leader and Me, so we can help our children to develop goals that are higher, and those action plans are how do I get there? How do I begin with the end in mind? I set my vision as to what it is I want to be, and then help them to write an action plan, a vision board in which we will walk with them to accomplish that goal. But when my children talk about the violence that surrounds them, when my children talk about the problems in their neighborhoods, and I want them to know there's more out there for you, and that you can and will attain that.
That is absolutely phenomenal. Quickly, how can one donate and or support? I mean, you want to give us an email, a website, or a phone number?
Sure. So there are various ways. On the Bibb County website, Bibb County schools, you can go directly to elementary schools, and you'll see Hartley Elementary School, which you will see our school address. You will see my name as the principal, Carmalita Dillard. Our phone number is 478-779-2500. And so we look forward to partnerships with everyone, monetary donation, donations in kind, volunteers. We welcome the community. This is a community school. And so we welcome the community in Hartley, if it's not for anything but just to come and greet our children on Tuesday morning and shake hands with our students. On Tuesdays, our kids dress professionally. We're teaching them how to prepare for success and professionalism in the future. So, we even ask for partners to come just for that, to greet our kids and to show them that you believe in them.
Outstanding. This is a call to action. I'm your host, Alex Habersham, having interviewed Dr. Carmalita Dillard, principal of Matilda Hartley Elementary School. And in closing, I just want to say one thing. Don't just stand there, do something. Help education, play a role in making our community better by supporting education. Thank you, Dr. Dillard.
www.makingblackpages.com